Hey everyone, this is Neil Ottesen here with Legal Soft's podcast, and today we have a lawyer with us. His name is Adam Rapaport. Adam, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You want to give us a quick little intro of who you are?
Yeah, my name's Adam Rapaport, and I've been practicing law for about 10 years here in the Southern California area. My main areas of practice are employment law and personal injury.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer? When did you get interested?
Oh, definitely not. I never grew up thinking that.
Yeah.
It was a product, I think, of the recession in 2008 when I was in college and there was just not a lot of jobs. And I like to argue, so I
Okay.
went to law school.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a nephew who I think would be a good lawyer as well. He wants to debate everything. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I think for me, there's a lot, points in your life where you kind of reinvent yourself or you kind of make discoveries as to kind of what your passion points are, and those things change over time. So it's kind of cool that you figured that out in college. I think I figured it out about 5 years after college, so a little late bloomer on my end. But so talk about your specialties, the
Yeah.
cases that you like to do.
Personal injury and employment law. I definitely have a passion for employment law. They're called FIHA cases, discrimination, harassment, and wrongful termination kind of cases. I used to work at a defense firm. I used to see the defense side of that, and now I do the plaintiff side of that. And those cases are super detailed, a lot of facts going on, and they're pretty interesting cases. So I do like those kind of
That's
cases.
awesome. Why those? What sparks interest for you about those?
Well, I don't. I think that it's not just a one size fits all approach, and you're not just you're in different areas. Someone gets fired from a job at a fast food place versus a big corporation. You're not just dealing with one area or one area of industries. You're dealing with a lot of different industries, a lot of different kind of people, and it's very personality driven. So it's just they're interesting cases, interesting people involved, and no one case is the same.
Awesome. Do you have any like noteworthy cases that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I did have a sexual harassment case a few years ago against a rather large company. We went to trial on the case. It was a hard fought case, many years of litigation, and we ended up getting a sizable award at the trial. So that was very vindicating for my client and for myself for the work that went into it.
Yeah, several years of litigation, you said?
Oh yeah, these cases take years. A
Wow,
lot of them do. If you're gonna go the distance on them, yeah.
that's wild. Persistence is key, I guess, and patience.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Is that the $800,000 settlement?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
that one. Yes.
Okay. Well, congrats to you. Congrats to your client as well.
Thank you.
Hard fought battle. Um, so I guess you said you were with a defense firm. No, so now you have experience on both sides, knowing what the defense is looking for. What do you think the plaintiff can anticipate in most cases?
They the plaintiff side needs to be ready to fight and to not be afraid of what the defense is going to do, and you need to be ready to go to the trial, especially whether it's injury, employment, or any other kind of plaintiff side cases. Just the defense, they fight. The landscape has changed on the defense side, and they're going to fight you, and you got to be able to litigate in court, have the skills to litigate, anticipate what the next move is going to be, and counter those moves and take it to trial if necessary. So those are the keys. You can't just you can't just take the case and close your eyes. It's a very active it's a gamesmanship kind of situation. You need to
Hmm.
be really involved in the case.
Yeah, hindsight's always 2020. Is there any big lesson you've learned that for the future of like, okay, never again will I make that mistake?
No, I don't make any mistakes. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
um, I think that you need to adapt in the case, and sometimes you have a theory, legal or factual, that you come into the case with, and you think that that's the theory I'm going to stick with no matter what, and that's not. And things happen. in discovery. Things happen with witnesses, and you have to adapt. And sometimes I think in the past I might have not adapted as quickly as I could have in the case, and it went a different way than I wanted to. But I think adaptation is key.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, if you have any life hacks for attorneys on the plaintiff side or the defense side, uh, that you know, is part of your process.
Just try not to get too stressed out and try not to take it too personal. The these A lot of these cases they can get personal sometimes, and with the lawyers, and it's just don't take it too personal. It's business, and try not to get stressed out. It's easier said than done being a
Yeah,
litigator.
I think yeah. Every job's like that a little bit. It's not, yeah,
Yes,
don't take it
yes.
home with you too much. Can you walk us through your journey post college a little bit more in detail?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, I had no plans of going to law school. I was going to do business or
Yeah.
something. Go into the family business and in construction. That didn't happen in 2008. Terrible, bad recession time. So went to law school. Still had no idea what was going on, but I liked it. And I was very fortunate to get into a plaintiff's law firm my first year, where I learned a tremendous amount. Actually, the first day I was a lawyer, I was sworn in. The next morning I was in court.
Oh, wow.
So that was a great experience, and I'm thankful for that experience every day. And I learned a lot, going to court every single day, getting a lot of experience. And then after that, I wanted a change of pace, and I went to the defense firm for a few years, and I saw the other side of things, and that was eye opening to see how the other side did things.
Hmm.
So after a few years of that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to go out on my own. I kind of saw what the firms were about, and I didn't think that was for me at the time. So,
Yeah. What at what point did you make that decision? It was like, okay, I'm going to do it myself.
well, I was about to get married, and the firm life is I just wasn't going to be for me long term. And I had an opportunity to get some cases from family, some friends, from other lawyers, and I kind of just made that leap to I'm going to go out on my own and do these cases and see how I do it, see how I did it. And I had enough of a foundation because I was in those firms for a few years that I knew some stuff, and I wasn't just starting from zero. If that makes sense.
So, Adam, what specifically about the firm life didn't really kind of jive with your style?
Well, when you're on the defense side, you need to bill, and that is a huge pain in the butt. And your entire life is tracked in
Yeah.
point 0.1 increments, and it was stressful and hard to imagine that that's going to be my career of that. And it's for some people, and God bless them, but that kind of billing life wasn't for me. And that's something that made me say, okay, I need to look at do my own practice.
Yeah. So, being a lawyer is one thing, but running a business is a completely other thing. Kind of, what are some of the challenges you face day in, day out on, you know, running your own business that, may not be attractive to you?
Yeah, it's a great question because lawyers are not they're lawyers. They're not business people. They're not running their own um, businesses that much. And it was challenging because when I first started, it was just me. So I'm doing all the calls to the adjusters. I'm doing all the letters of representation myself. I was actually going down to the court myself to file the lawsuits. This is before we had e-filing, and I would actually sometimes even serve them myself. I was trying to save as much money as I could because it was just me, and I didn't wasn't making that much. But the challenges now is having a good staff and delegating to them and giving them the process of what taking a case from its inception all the way through the litigation process, and having systems in place I think is important.
Yeah. Did you create those systems yourself, or did you? Uh,
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of hear how you went from a single sole proprietor to now a team and being a leader of a team.
Yeah, so I want when I first started, like I said, I really wanted to know how to do everything. Some lawyers they have their secretaries and they don't wouldn't know how to file a case or do anything. I did everything myself, so I knew what that was going to take. So I knew from day one what does it mean to file a case, what does it mean to serve a case, what does it mean to do discovery, and I was able to teach my employees as I got them this is what you do because I knew how to do it firsthand.
Yeah.
So I now would create like a list for them. Okay, when we get a case, this is like the checklist of things you do. When we go to litigation, this is the checklist of things you do. Because I did them, I hands on did them all myself. So that was helpful when I started, and training my staff to do that.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for law firms that may be in that situation? I find, with legal soft, we interact with lawyers who needed a staff 2 weeks ago or a month ago, and they're too busy to
Mhm.
train and spend time on coming up with the systems, and they really need to delegate their workload out. What advice do you have for those firms?
Uh, it's finding the right people and training them, because if you put the time into training your people, you're going to pay dividends on the back end. I
Hmm.
mean, that's any job, right?
Hmm.
But I think law just, it's so detail oriented, and especially when you're doing different practice areas, it's about the training. If you're not giving the right training, not giving them the right tools, you're going to go backwards.
Yeah. What's your approach to finding the right people?
What's my approach? Yeah, well, they need to be congenial, and they need to be good on the phone. There's a lot on the phone here in this job, and some of my staff speak Spanish. That's very helpful because a lot of my clients are Spanish speaking, and they need to be able to use good judgment, and they do.
Yeah, do you outsource to staffing firms to help you staff, or do you do it all in-house?
Uh, right now, it's all in house right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. So in hindsight, we talked about hindsight earlier as 2020. If you could go back and redo uh, college, graduate school, law school, all of it, what would you do differently?
Well, I think that I did a decent job of coming out. I did have a plan of wanting to work in the firm for 3 to 5 years to get some more firm experience, but I ended up with about 3 years in the firm experience. So maybe going back, I would try to go to a defense firm first. But I think the plaintiff's firm was really valuable for me.
Hmm.
So I just think that it's important that someone, if they come out, that they work in a firm first. So
Yeah, is that your advice to all people in college right now?
it is. I know a lot of people that have gone solo when they first come out, and they've done a good job, and that's amazing for them. But I feel like to get the academics of what law entails, if you're going to be a litigator, if you're going to go to court, if you're going to do trials, working in a firm it's something you have to do, because you're not going to get that experience on your own. You're just not.
Yeah, there's something different about being a professional student versus actually living the life and getting practical application of
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about the 2008 recession being a big game
Yeah.
changer
Twice. Yeah.
for you. Uh, Talk about how COVID and the pandemic kind of affected business.
Yeah, I think there's a pros and cons. Pros, definitely the efficiency factor. Now the depositions are all on Zoom. So, we used to have to drive down wherever for an all day deposition. Now you could do two in a day, three in a day on Zoom. The court system, slow to adapt, but now they're also doing everything on Zoom or WebEx or Blue Jeans or Microsoft Teams. That is made it huge efficiency, because again, you have to drive, be at 8:30 in the morning in San Diego, and then come back for 5 minutes. It didn't make any sense. So nationwide, that's helped a lot. So enabled me to do more cases, enabled me to serve my clients more effectively. I think cons is that the court system is more clogged up now because we were shut down for that period of time. So we're on a few years backlog. So it's justice. It's justice, delayed is justice denied, and people are waiting for their day in court, and so it's clogged up, and people are frustrated with that.
Yeah. I just had to serve jury duty, and it's
Yeah.
that as aside from like checking in online, that process has not evolved or
No.
changed over the years. It's a bit
Thank
painful.
you for your service.
Yeah, my pleasure. Uh, let's talk about how you get clients. I'd love to kind of hear how you market your firm, and how do clients find you?
Right. Well, it's a lot of referral based. I've been in it for 10 plus years. So when I first started, I had a partner who was Spanish speaking. he was able to connect me with some people in the community that would, refer over cases, people in the Hispanic community, and from there, it kind of like grew.
Hmm.
And now I have relationships with, for example, with like a lot of doctors, chiropractors. So it is a lot of referral based, and I don't do a lot of paid for marketing, and I'm lucky that it has just grown on itself because you do, if you do a good job for people, they come back. If you do a good job for your client, their family says, hey, talk to Adam. So I think that I've served the clients well, and I've gotten a lot of business from that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that you don't have to worry about the marketing aspect so
Well,
much.
well, you always got to bring in cases. You always got to bring in cases.
Yeah. Um, how long did that take for you to kind of get the referral business to kick in?
Well, I started with one client. I started with one accident client, and I started with one employment case at a time. I had two cases, or
Yeah.
plus a couple other random, small claims cases, whatever. So it just all snowballed from there. So it's just one at a time. So it's like they always say, like, your first sales call is the hardest. So that's what it was for me.
So, what's your advice for new lawyers who fresh on the scene to build connections with their lean network?
So when I first started my own firm, I was lucky to be connected with some really great chiropractors who taught me how the personal injury industry works, and really when it comes down to taking care of the medical providers, you have to realize something, that number one, your client is your client; they're your first priority. Okay, so you have to do what's right by them. Number two is you also need to take care of the medical providers. They're providing a great service to the client who is injured, and they also need to be compensated fair value. So when you do settle a case, um, you negotiate with the lien holders to come to a fair amount that the client agrees with. And it just what the process is that you should just be fair to all parties involved, but keeping in mind that the client is your number one priority, and that's how I approach the liens.
You talked earlier about going the extra mile for your clients and really, doing your due diligence on everything. What does that mean?
Well, that means properly working up a case. I think that's the first thing. A lot of some, I won't say a lot, but some lawyers, they just kind of let the case linger around and they'll do the bare minimum. I try not to do that, especially with the employment cases. There is a tremendous amount of workup, investigation, background checks. You're pulling records. You're looking at text. You're pulling phone records. You're looking at text messages. You're putting together a story. So you're getting witness lists. You're doing intense discovery. So you got to work the case up, and also in personal injury, but to a different extent. You got to work the case up, and you got to be ready. And it's one of those sayings of whoever works harder is going to win, and it's true. It's true in court too. Like, the other side is getting paid by the hour. You're mostly not, but you still have to outwork them. You have to outwork them, so you need to be ready. So when you go to the mediation conference, or you go to the motion, or you go to trial, you are more prepared than them, and that's what it means to me.
Great, thanks. With clients, you talked about, a lot of your business comes from referrals now. What's your process for vetting your clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with vetting, with personal injury, there's a checklist. It's you look at liability, you look at insurance. So those are kind of like standard things. If there's a dispute about how the accident happened, you'll look at you'll look at the Google Maps. You look at the car damage, figure out how the accident happened. I think with employment, the vetting is much different and much more intense because these cases are personality driven. Okay, and someone has been wronged, and they're feeling emotional and personal about it, that's a human emotion. We can all understand that. So I meet with every employment law, uh, every employment client. I meet with them in person. So because I want to look at them, I want to hear their story, and I want to be able to assess their credibility, which is a huge factor in these cases, is credibility. If the other side thinks your client's lying, rightly or wrongly, they're not going to pay. That's it. And I think that goes for any case, but especially true in employment law.
Yeah.
So I do meet with them.
without going into detail, can you talk about uh, someone you misvet? I don't know the terminology. Misvetted or vetted incorrectly that you wish you hadn't taken.
Well, there sometimes, and this might be a surprise to your listeners, that clients lie. and and you don't know this when you're signing them up, but as the case goes on, this comes to apparent. And of course we have duties as attorneys, and we're not going to say, oh, my client's lying, but that's the challenge. So and if the facts is presented when you first sign up, oh, this is an amazing case, so this is I got this case, and then it turns out that they're lying. You spent a lot. As a lawyer, you spent a lot of time and money on that case,
Hmm.
a lot of time and money. So that's lessons learned for me. That's lesson learned for anyone that's starting their firm is it's vetting, and it's vetting. Does this story make sense? What they're saying, like what any kind of case, how they got fired. They say they were a perfect employee, nothing. They had no blemishes on their record, right? And then something comes out. Or they say the accident happened this way, and then we get the surveillance footage, right? So it just comes with, does this story make sense? And my staff is trained to also look at some of that. So I have a couple sets of eyeballs on that before I sign up a case.
Yeah, judgment of character really. Everyone I know has misjudged someone at some point, and it's gotten their relationship into trouble. Whether it's a employment relationship, a legal relationship, a
Yeah,
friendship relationship, altogether, it is really kind of terrible when you have to deal or undo relationships based off of lies.
yeah, and we have, as lawyers, we have these ethical and legal duties to clients. So in the middle of a case, and you find something out, I mean, you can't just be like, all right, bye. You still need to do what's best for the client, and
Yeah.
that puts lawyers in a tough position, right?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point of having multiple eyes on for perspective on someone's judgment of character. We
Right.
can be easily swooned by personalities or stories or facts or whatever, but getting multiple people's personal or perspectives around personalities is very, very helpful in making the right judgment call there.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you swinging by. And how can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
My website is rapaportfirm.com. Thank you, LegalSoft. And I have a hashtag at rapaportfirm on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you.